This episode of Mikey on Mute is brought to you by Little Jerk Society. Little Jerk Society is a clothing company fueled by the raw energy of creative rebellion, celebrating those who march to the beat of their own drum. They care deeply about mental health and believe in a world where everyone can thrive, regardless of their challenges. Use promo code Mikey on Mute to save 15% on your order at littlejerkclothing.com. Again, that's littlejerkclothing.com. And remember, use promo code Mikey on Mute, all one word, to save yourself 15%. Go off and make a change. Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of Mikey on Mute. As always, I'm your host, Mikey, coming off mute to talk to you about my mental health journey, break that stigma that, men can't reach out for help or anything like that, and open up this two-way conversation so we can make it less taboo to talk about mental health. Today is episode 7. The danger of Google. Okay, I know we're not in October anymore. I just had to do a little spooky voice to that because, the internet is always a dangerous place. And I say that as I pump this out on the internet, hoping to reach all of your ears. So, episode 7, The Danger of Google. After episode 6 and the TikTok situation had gone awry and a flamed out, very quick, very toxic relationship ended, I craved something. No, it wasn't another relationship. No, it wasn't a certain kind of candy bar. No, I craved closure and a reason why I needed to pick it apart and find that root cause. As humans, it is a survival technique to understand and avoid what makes us not feel good. Back to the days of cavemen, if we put our hands in fire and we got burnt, well, we learned very quickly, don't put your hand in fire. Same goes here. We tend to really desire a deeper understanding to find a solution and root cause or a way to approach things. With our mental health, we want to make a plan to not feel the things we don't like to feel. That might be, what can we do to avoid anxiety? What can we do to avoid feeling down or isolated or depressed? Same concept. We find that we are in a situation where we don't like how we feel, and we want to figure out why that is so we can avoid it going forward. And while our brains process this as the problem solvers they are, it can be a little tough, especially in today's age. Today we live in an instant gratification world. Think of a streaming service, food delivery, online shopping, or looking up an actor or actress. I know there's been plenty of times where we've been on the couch watching a movie and gone, hey, where's that person from? I know that person, I've seen them. And you have to pause the movie. You can't put your focus back on it until you have gone on Google or IMDb or something like that and tracked down where you've seen this person from. We really want to know at that exact moment, if we want to watch something, it has to be now. If we are hungry, that better be here within, the next 40 minutes. And we want to watch it happen as somebody live delivers it. If we are shopping, we are constantly looking at that tracking number to see where is it at? Where has it gone to this city yet? We just want all of our answers and we want them now. However, like a lot of things in the world that give you a certain feeling of that, that serotonin boost or anything, there are dangers to instant gratification. One of them is reinforcing addictive behavior. And I think of social media with this. Social media rewards you for posting. You get likes, you get comments, you get reposts, you get shares, you get subscribers. Social media gives you those rewards. And so you keep posting and you keep going on there and liking and commenting and getting the algorithm to follow you. It really is a reward system that brings us some kind of joy. That's why we do it. Another danger could be undermining long-term activities. So these quick rewards we get, such as the likes and the comments on social media, they can turn you away from those powerful long-term activities that are good for your mental health. You may not want to pursue them anymore. If you can get that little boost of happiness by doing something, if I can go post this selfie and try to get some likes, that will give me something, now versus if I go to the gym and if I work out and in a couple months feel better about myself, or if I put my mind to it and study and go back to school, I can earn this degree within a couple years. Those things take time, and in an instant gratification world, time is not our friend. So we turn to these behaviors of instant gratification. It can also change our brain chemistry. So it's not just something that, we might not want to do because it's going to make us look at our phones more. No, there are actual changes within how our brain is wired. Those rewards that we gain for unhealthy habits, our brain is now being told, hey, this is the way to get it. Please try to forget all the other things we learned about how to build up. You hear those phrases growing up, good things take time. Good things come to those who wait. And we're taught at a young age, even in kindergarten, to wait in line and to not rush anything. And that you will get to the point that you need to get to when it's supposed to happen. So our brain is trained to, wait, and there is a long-term goal. But nowadays we are teaching ourselves, we're teaching our kids and our teens that they don't need to wait. If they want to feel better about themselves, there is a whole world online that will allow them to do that. And just in the same aspect, on the other side of that, there's a whole world waiting to hurt them. And so we are physically changing our brain that, hey, if I want to feel good today, I need to go online. I need to post this video. I need to post this picture. I need to go and comment on somebody's post. If I'm not feeling good, you know what will make me feel good? If I go make fun of this post or argue with this person on this stance online, it gives you a little boost, and that instant gratification is there. But after a few seconds or a few minutes, your body goes, okay, we need another one. We need our next fix. This is almost like a drug addiction. You can talk to recovering addicts that will talk to you about needing to find that next hit, and an addiction to these instant gratification behaviors is one of them. I speak as somebody that really has trouble with this. I have a very unhealthy relationship to checking my phone and making sure that I'm staying on top of the news. It used to be just a device I would go on to text every once in a while or play an online game, check my fantasy football team. But now it is my lifeline to networking. It's my lifeline to the podcast and to you guys and all the social networks, which I absolutely love seeing your posts on, your support. It means the world. But I speak to you about these dangers of instant gratification as somebody that struggles with that. I'm not sitting here on some high horse trying to tell you how to live your life. I'm just explaining that while instant gratification can feel amazing, there are some real dangers, and you need to take a step back and see if it is causing more harm to how your brain's operating than it's helping you. All right, let's get past that TED Talk and go to Googling symptoms, everyone's favorite pastime. We know that this is a bad idea, especially for our physical health. We know it is. It usually leads to some massive misinformation, unnecessary medical visits. You're going to the ER, you're going and booking doctor's appointments when you really don't have to. It can lead to an increase in your anxiety just over it because you are worrying about all the things. How many times, I use this as an example, how many times have you Googled a headache and it turns out you have cancer? At the end of the day, you don't, but you are going through every option. You're going and scrolling, and there's so much information out there, and you are adding in symptoms, and then you're seeing sentences that are like, oh, yeah, I guess I could see that being in me, and you are adding symptoms that aren't even there because it sounds right, and it's really dangerous because you are not helping yourself. If you have a medical question, the right thing to do is go to a medical professional. Same thing goes with our mental health. I think a lot of us have this stigma that with it being a mental thing that we should be able to take care of it without going in somewhere, that going to the doctor is for a physical health thing. That if you are sick or have the flu or you hurt your leg in a scooter accident or anything like that, then you go to the doctor. But with our mental health, we have to understand this is still health. This is still us needing to take care of ourselves. And while we wouldn't Google, something going on within our leg or something like that, we shouldn't be Googling what's going on inside of our heads either. We're not psychiatrists. We're not doctors. And so we have no right to try to self-diagnose ourselves. It can really lead down a path where you're going down rabbit holes that you do not want to go. And this is where I was after I was banned from TikTok and after I had that burnout relationship. I needed some kind of resolution, and so I was trying to search on every search engine, on any forum I could find. I tried to check off the facts, and I'm going to put air quotes around the word facts because they were only facts if they benefited me, if they benefited my case, if they gave me the evidence I needed to believe what I was reading. The psychiatrist I was seeing at that time didn't think I had bipolar depression, which is what they diagnosed me with in inpatient. And so I started to look up, what are some things that are similar to bipolar depression. And let me tell you, the internet will give you a long, long list, and it will give you articles about people that were misdiagnosed or undiagnosed with it and given a different term or different diagnosis. There is a lot of stories out there, and I attached that. I grabbed on. I said, see, this is exactly what I'm going through. And I started to dive even further into these rabbit holes and went, a fear of abandonment? Check. Absolutely. I have a giant fear of abandonment. I am worried that people around me are going to leave. It dictates my entire behavior, which is something I work with my current therapist on. A pattern of unstable, intense relationships? Double check. Might as well look at my ex history and see, especially after the separation and divorce, that makes perfect sense to me. Impulsive and risky behavior would seem about right, not thinking and jumping into things and relationships and situations that I really shouldn't be in, but it made me feel good. It gave me that instant gratification, whether that was a certain drug or alcohol or sex or anything else. There were so many impulsive behaviors that I jumped on because it gave me that instant gratification. So check, check, check. Wild mood swings that can last from a few hours to a few days. Yeah, it sounds like my spiraling sessions, where things are going wrong and I am just down and isolating, and then after a few days, I am suddenly back on top of the world, whether I found something to give me that instant gratification or what. But now I'm the happiest person you've ever met, and nothing is wrong. And it's black and white thinking. I'm either completely in the dumps or I am on top of the world. And so, yeah, we have a winner. Check off all of these. Ding, ding, ding. The self-diagnosis tool says borderline personality disorder, also known as BPD. It was at that moment, after reading those articles and symptoms, I decided, yeah, borderline personality disorder, that suits exactly what I'm going through. That's me. Boom. Write it in. Not only did it make sense at the time in my head, but it gave me an excuse. As I was looking back at my behaviors and analyzing how I was going through life, BPD gave me a safety blanket of sorts. I didn't have to take accountability or anything like that, and you would think I would take this information and go to my psychiatrist or go to my therapist and go, hey, I think this is what is going on. I didn't. I kept that information to myself, as far as I didn't give it to my medical professionals that were working with me. And I wasn't taking accountability for my behaviors and my actions. Instead, I allowed borderline personality disorder to become my reason for being a shitty human. I did a lot of terrible things and actions and behaviors that were not good and just blamed it on BPD. I wasn't trying to look for ways to, lower the symptoms or work through them. I wasn't going to therapy sessions. I was making up excuses that I was sick or needed to reschedule, and it became this pattern of pushing it off, and eventually I transferred all of my medicines. I wasn't on any controlled substances at the time, so I transferred them all to my family doctor. I said, hey, quick question, this list of meds, can you fill these for me? He looked at me, goes, yeah, why? And I go, well, it's not a match with my psychiatrist, and I'm looking to leave, and I figured if you could fill them, that gives me time to look for a new psychiatrist. That was a blatant lie. I just wasn't going to go back to a psychiatrist, but I couldn't say that to his face without something creaking out, like, my voice breaking, because I don't want to stare my doctor down and lie to him. But I got all my meds out there. I stopped going to my therapist. I made up excuses. I just stopped even making excuses. I just didn't show up anymore. I had my online diagnosis. I had my resolution in my head. This is who I am. And so I started to speak. And the difference between when I was speaking then and when I'm speaking now is how I took on that information. Borderline personality disorder will have, if you go online, there are different sites, and this is the danger of going on and self-diagnosing. Some sites will have 7 traits. Some will have 9 traits. Some places say you need to have 5 of them in order to have it. Others will say you need 4. There's different lists that have, time periods of how long it has to last and all that. So this is where it becomes really important to talk to somebody if you do believe that borderline personality disorder is something that you struggle with. At the time, I was using it as my personality. I was taking these traits and making, different episodes of the time on that trait or whatever, and using it as an excuse. I thought I was reaching out, and I thought it was going to be a beneficial thing. But all I was doing was looking for someone to justify me, to justify that I had been a shitty human, and hey, it's okay, you have BPD, that's what happens. Now, as I speak through my journey, as you listen to me go through the overview of my mental health journey, it's not to get some sort of validation from you. I highly appreciate everyone that listens to my podcast, that shares my content on social media, that has reached out. That means the world to me. At the end of the day, this first part of the podcast I'm doing for myself, to speak things out loud, to get them out of my head and onto paper, quote unquote. I'm not looking for somebody to tell me that it's okay. You did the things you did because you have mental health issues. I'm speaking now to be as blunt and honest as possible, to not have the conversations turn taboo. I'm taking accountability at this point. I wasn't taking accountability prior to that, and that led to a lot of people that came into my life on aspects that, were fake. I had this shell of who I was. I was putting on an act because I thought that's what everyone wanted to see. I would research it and amplify it. Anytime I saw a certain trait, I amplified it, especially if it benefited me. If I was going to gain something out of it, or if I could get out of getting, having to take accountability for something, I was amping it up. It turned into an extra part of my personality. I don't have to tell you twice that I'm not a psychiatrist. I should have known at that time not to self-diagnose myself, but I let my want of, my need of a root cause get in the way of understanding how to go about things in the right way. I thought if I knew the root cause, that it would somehow solve everything. I thought that now that I could give myself a name to what was happening in my head, that I would be on track and I could go back to living life how I should be. And instead, I was becoming a charity case and playing a part that allowed me to gain those things of instant gratification, those likes, those follows, those shares. As I take a minute to stop there and jump back to the present moment here in late 2024, I do want to be completely transparent with all of my listeners. The medical team I'm working right now, my psychiatrist, my therapist, my family doctor, none of them see from our conversations, none of them have an inkling that there is borderline personality disorder within me. I've never taken an official diagnostic test, a psychiatric test to see if it's there. I haven't gone through that. I think it's almost the opposite. I don't want that root cause answer. And there's going to be a part of me that forever believes that there's definitely some part of BPD that lives within me. And I will go on in further episodes and break it apart, because what I learned later on is it's not all or nothing. You can take those traits, those symptoms, and kind of pull them out and see how they come up in other aspects in life. BPD, and it's a sneaky one, because almost everyone that has struggled in some way can look at the borderline personality disorder symptoms and go, yeah, at some point in my life that sounded like me. But it takes a medical professional to see so many different traits at such a different length of time and see a pattern to be able to make that call. Do not allow the wealth of information that's on the internet skew your mind. As of now, in the present moment, BPD is not my personality anymore. I'm not sitting here to talk to you about the traits of borderline personality disorder. It affects a lot of people I know personally. It affects a lot of even celebrities. There's more coming out and talking about it, being more open about it. If you believe that you or someone close to you is struggling with it, please either go see a medical professional or encourage them to talk to one. Only a psychiatrist can make that decision for them. Nothing on the internet, this podcast, or a YouTube video, or an article, and there's a lot of great articles out there. None of those can make that full decision that yes, this is what's wrong with you, or what's going on with you, what you're battling with, etc. Please talk to somebody that has years of knowledge and experience and the work to back it up and can go and help you make that decision and then figure out what the best path for you is, because just like there's not one path to diagnosis, is not one path to recovery either. There's going to be plenty of options that you can go to different therapies, you can try different medications. There is a wealth of options out there, but it only has to come from your medical professional, your psychiatrist, your therapist, things like that. I appreciate you taking the time to allow me to discuss this, and this episode might not be as deep or personal or triggering as some of the other episodes, and that's okay. They don't all have to be some sort of, terrible thing that happened. I appreciate you allowing me to take this episode to take accountability of who I was, the way I acted, and hopefully spread the word about the dangers of online diagnosis and the dangers of instant gratification. I'm not telling you to stay off your phone. I'm not telling you to stay off social media. What I am saying is, person to person, I'm a person that struggles with it. I know that I need to take time to be in the moment, be in real life, and I think you should do the same. I do appreciate you listening to this, liking it, sharing it with friends. If you're listening on Spotify, I really would appreciate if you could give it a 5-star rating. It helps match up other podcasts and get the word out to other listeners that might enjoy this podcast, might enjoy the show, and gets us even closer to opening up that conversation. If you have a fellow podcast that you listen to that you think would make a great conversation, I am actively looking for those leads. We are getting ever so closer to the present moment of my story, so that way we can open up that conversation and have a two-way conversation. I want to talk to your favorite creators. I want to talk to the people that matter to you and have those discussions. Let's talk mental health. Let's talk what's going on and how we have battled through different things and give each other advice on, hey, what's worked for you, what hasn't worked, and I'm very excited for that. So before I continue to ramble and just repeat myself and everything like that, this is Mikey going back on mute. Until next time. This episode of Mikey on Mute is brought to you by Dubby Energy. Dubby is a clean energy drink loaded with vitamins and nootropics. Dubby is sugar-free, has 0 calories, and 0 artificial coloring. Use promo code MikeyOnMute to save 10% on your order at dubby.gg. That's DUBBY.GG. And remember, promo code MikeyOnMute, all one word, will save you 10%.